When Darth Vader marched on the Jedi Temple, the clones expected slaughter. They expected the famous Fist of the Republic to break the old order in one night. But as Anakin Skywalker reached the great doors, something inside him refused to die. He heard the fear of the younglings through the Force. He remembered his own childhood on Tatooine, the helpless knights, the need for someone strong to stand between terror and a child. Palpatine had promised peace. Instead, he had led Anakin to this. Captain Oppo waited for the command. The 501st lined the temple steps. Gunships roared over Coruscant. In the distance, the city glittered like nothing was wrong. Then, Vader ignited his blade, not toward the entrance, but toward the control panel. One violent slash sealed the blast doors and locked the outer defenses. Clones stared in shock. Oppo shouted, "Lord Vader?" Anakin answered with a new order. "No one enters. No one harms the Jedi." For one breath, the night froze. Then, the clones opened fire. Vader moved first. Blue and red bolts bent around him like rain against steel. He cut through the front ranks, not with Sith fury alone, but with desperate purpose. Every strike was fast, brutal, final. He crushed a heavy turret with the Force, hurled debris across the stairs, and dragged wounded temple guards behind cover. Temple alarms wailed. Inside, Jedi rushed to defensive posts, unable to understand what they were seeing through the Force. A fallen knight looked through the sealed gate and saw the impossible. Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, was defending the very home he had come to destroy. In the Chancellor's office, Darth Sidious felt the rupture instantly. His perfect future shook. He ordered all clone channels rerouted, all exits sealed, all surviving Jedi marked for death. On Coruscant, the temple became a fortress under siege. And at the center of it stood Vader, breathing hard, saber burning, as the first wave of clones regrouped for a full assault. He had disobeyed the Emperor. Now the war for the Jedi Temple had truly begun that terrible night. Vader had made his choice. Now the temple would learn whether Anakin Skywalker had come as its savior or its final curse. Inside the temple, fear spread faster than fire. Survivors of the first bombardment gathered in shattered halls, waiting for Darth Vader to carve through the doors. The darkness around Anakin was real. So was the shield he raised over them. Between blaster impacts, Jedi Masters watched him redirect fire away from the sanctuary and toward the clone lines below. It made no sense. Master Sindralig took command of the inner defense. Some wanted to strike Vader down the moment he entered. Others warned that without him, the outer defenses would collapse in minutes. Then the sealed gate opened, and Anakin stepped inside alone. Lightsabers flashed toward his throat. He did not resist. He dropped to one knee, deactivated his blade, and said the words nobody thought they would ever hear. "I was sent to kill you. I will not do it." The room held its breath. He looked at the frightened children behind the guards and could barely force the rest out. "I'm here to protect the temple." No one believed him. But the next attack gave them no time to argue. Clone breachers blasted through the western wall. Anakin moved before any council debate could begin. He hurled the first squad backward, crossed blades with electrostaff troopers, and dragged a wounded Padawan clear of collapsing stone. The younglings watched as the man they had been taught to admire became something stranger, a warrior standing between them and extinction. Whispers spread through the temple like sparks. The hero with no fear had returned. The Chosen One had fallen. The same man now stood in both shadows. Anakin led survivors into stronger positions, reopened shield grids, and ordered food stores rationed for a siege. He remembered hidden passages, vault codes, and training rooms better than anyone alive. That knowledge, once a path to destruction, became the temple's greatest defense. Still, every corridor he saved reminded him what Palpatine had wanted him to become. And in the meditation chambers, one youngling looked up at Anakin Skywalker and asked the question that cut deeper than any blade. "Master Skywalker, why are you crying?" For the first time that night, Anakin had no lie left to hide behind. And far from Coruscant, Obi-Wan Kenobi had just felt the impossible through the Force. Far from Coruscant, Obi-Wan Kenobi felt the change like a blade dragged across his mind. He had come to Mustafar expecting to face Anakin's final fall. Instead, the Force twisted in a way he could barely understand. There was darkness, yes, but also resistance. There was murder all across the galaxy as Order 66 continued. Yet at the heart of the storm, inside the Jedi Temple itself, Anakin Skywalker was fighting against the command he should have carried out. For a moment, Obi-Wan thought it was a trap. Then he reached out again and felt terrified younglings still alive. He felt Anakin's pain burning through every corridor like open fire. That was not redemption, but it was a choice, and choices still mattered. He left Mustafar at once. His starfighter tore through hyperspace toward Coruscant while the galaxy changed without him. Across the HoloNet, Chancellor Palpatine declared the Jedi guilty of treason. He spoke, telling the Senate that fanatical Jedi terrorists had attacked the government and seized the temple as their final stronghold. Official channels flooded the Republic with edited footage, false testimony, and emergency decrees. On countless worlds, citizens believed it. Clone commanders obeyed without question. To them, the Jedi were no longer generals. They were enemies of peace. Bail Organa intercepted fragments of the transmission and knew the truth was being buried alive. He opened secret channels, guiding Obi-Wan past military blockades gathering over Coruscant. Gunships circled the Temple District. Propaganda screens painted the Jedi as monsters and the Chancellor as savior. When Obi-Wan landed in the Undercity, he did not come as a general. He came as a fugitive. He met Senator Organa in a sealed service tunnel beneath the Works District. Bail's face was grim. "The temple still stands," he said, "but the city is turning against it by the hour." Obi-Wan closed his eyes. Somewhere above them, Anakin was fighting for Jedi lives, while the Republic prepared to erase them all. Then another tremor tore through the Force. Yoda had arrived at the temple, and Palpatine had announced the birth of a new empire. The Republic was dying in real time. And before Obi-Wan could face Anakin, Master Yoda was already stepping into the fire. Master Yoda entered the Jedi Temple through smoke, fire, and broken stone. He had already seen too much death across the galaxy, but nothing prepared him for what waited inside. Clones lay scattered across the entrance halls. Temple guards held shattered lines. Younglings hid in the library vaults. And at the center of the storm stood Anakin Skywalker, armor blackened, blade drawn, defending children from the soldiers of the Republic. Anakin expected judgment. He expected a blade to his throat, or at least the cold silence of final disappointment. Instead, Yoda looked beyond the rage and saw the truth beneath it. Skywalker was balanced on the edge of ruin, but he had not stepped all the way into darkness. Not yet. That single fact changed everything. "Survive this night? We must," Yoda said. Questions later. The temple became a battlefield of impossible alliances. Yoda directed the defense with ruthless clarity, moving knights and Padawans through hidden routes, collapsing exposed corridors, and concentrating every remaining fighter around the younglings' chambers. Anakin became the spear point of every counterattack. Where clone forces broke through, he met them first. He tore apart breaching charges, dragged wounded masters from kill zones, and held narrow halls alone, while children escaped through servant passages below. He passed rooms where he had once laughed as a student. Now every doorway showed him what should have happened here. Bodies, ash, silence. The future Palpatine wanted kept flashing before his eyes. So Anakin fought harder, as if saving one more child could erase the... While the temple fought for survival, Padme Amidala entered the Senate expecting panic. Instead, she found celebration. Senators who once cheered liberty now rose to applaud Chancellor Palpatine as he declared the Republic dead and the First Galactic Empire born. Thunderous voices filled the chamber. Fear had done its work. The Jedi were called traitors. Emergency powers became law. And every screen in the Capitol displayed the temple as a nest of rebels holding Coruscant hostage. Padme listened in horror, but one detail cut through the lies. Palpatine did not speak like a leader ending a war. He spoke like a man following a schedule. Troop redeployments had already been approved. Communication relays had been locked. Arrest lists had been prepared. This was not a response to chaos. It was the final move of a plan built before this night. Using old committee codes, Padme slipped into a restricted data channel beneath the Senate rotunda. There, she found what Palpatine never meant anyone outside his circle to see. Orders had gone out to seize loyal senators, silence independent media, and place the core under direct military rule by dawn. Worse still, a final command waited in reserve. If the Jedi Temple could not be taken, Coruscant defense guns would fire on the entire district. Padme froze. Thousands of civilians lived below towers. Refugees were sheltering near the lines. Palpatine was prepared to burn his own capital to erase the Jedi and call it peace. Bail Organa arrived through a side access tube and saw the truth on her face before he read the files. "He means to cleanse the city," he said quietly. Padme nodded. For the time, fear gave way to certainty. This was no longer about saving Anakin alone. It was about stopping a tyrant before the galaxy accepted chains forever. She copied every file to a beacon and sent fragments toward surviving allies. But before the transmission completed, the chamber lights dimmed. Red guards sealed the exits. Palpatine's office had detected the breach. And as the Senate roared approval above them, Padme realized the Emperor had come for her. The Empire had been born in thunderous applause. And beneath that applause, Padme had just found the truth that could destroy it. By the time Obi-Wan reached the upper temple levels, the sacred halls had become a maze of smoke, fire, and broken stone. He passed fallen clones, shattered statues, and scorched doors before finding Anakin outside the youngling's sanctuary, standing guard with his lightsaber lowered. For a long moment, neither man moved. Master and student faced each other in the ruins of everything they had once called home. Obi-Wan spoke first. "I felt your choice." Anakin's eyes dropped. "I made it too late." The answer carried more pain than anger. Behind Anakin, frightened children waited in silence, trusting the man they should have feared most. Their words came slowly. Obi-Wan asked why. Anakin answered in fragments. Fear of losing Padme. Bitterness toward the Council. Years of Palpatine's lies sinking into every wound he had ever carried. He confessed that he had marched to the temple ready to become a killer. Only the voices of the younglings had broken him before the final step was taken. Obi-Wan did not forgive him. Not yet. But he saw the war still raging inside his former student, and he chose not to ignite his blade. "Then fight," he said. "Not for prophecy. Not for me. Fight for the lives still in your hands." Anakin's control cracked. Grief and rage poured out. He accused Obi-Wan of doubting him, of standing with a council that feared him when it should have helped him. He said the Jedi had shaped him into a weapon, then recoiled when that weapon turned sharp. Obi-Wan took the words without flinching. "You were my brother, Anakin," he said. "You still have a choice." He looked shattered, but not beyond saving anymore yet. Then the temple floor lurched. A massive detonation ripped through the eastern tower. Sirens screamed. Through the shattered windows, black transports descended through the Coruscant sky, escorted by Crimson Guards and elite gunships. Palpatine was coming in person. And in that terrible moment, Obi-Wan and Anakin understood the same truth. If they kept fighting each other, every child in the temple would die before dawn. The past had not been forgiven. But with the Emperor arriving, Obi-Wan and Anakin had no choice except to stand together or lose everything. Palpatine entered the temple like a shadow that no wall could keep out. Crimson guards swept ahead of him. Shock troops poured through the broken eastern tower. At their center walked the Emperor, hood drawn low, his smile calm, as if the slaughter around him were only the closing note of a performance. He had not come to negotiate. He had come to finish what Anakin refused to begin. Yoda met him first in the ruined council approach. The two masters of opposite destinies clashed with a violence that shook the hall to its foundations. Green and red light flashed through smoke. Stone burst apart. Sidious laughed as he fought, delighted that the Jedi were trapped where he wanted them. But this time, Anakin was not at his side. Obi-Wan led defenders to seal the western breach, while temple guards pulled younglings deeper into the archives. Anakin froze as he watched Yoda driven across the chamber. Every lie Palpatine had whispered returned at once. Power, control, Padme, peace. Behind each promise, he now saw the truth. Bodies, ash, chains. Then Sidious struck down 3 Jedi with a single wave of lightning, and Anakin moved. He hurled himself into the fight beside Yoda, blade crashing against the Emperor's crimson saber. For one impossible moment, the temple watched Darth Vader and the Grand Master stand together against the darkness that had shaped them both. Palpatine's delight vanished. His voice turned cold. "You choose weakness again, my boy." Anakin answered with fury. "No, I choose them." The duel exploded across the council platform. Yoda attacked with disciplined precision. Anakin pressed with raw force and desperation. Sidious answered with speed, cruelty, and years of hidden power. Windows shattered, towers cracked, the floor split open beneath them. Elsewhere, Obi-Wan realized what this battle truly meant. If Palpatine died here, the Empire could fracture before it was born. If Palpatine won, the temple would fall, and the galaxy would sink into a darkness deeper than anyone had foreseen. Then the Emperor changed tactics. He stopped trying to kill Anakin. He reached instead for the younglings. Palpatine had found Anakin's greatest weakness, and in the next second, the fate of the temple would depend on what Anakin chose to save. Coruscant was breaking apart. Sirens wailed. Gunships battled over the temple district. Senate towers locked down. Civilian transports crashed into blocked air lanes as panic spread through the capital. For the first time in living memory, the heart of the Republic looked like a world at war with itself. Inside the shattered temple, the final choice closed around Anakin Skywalker. Palpatine had reached for the younglings because he understood the weakness that still ruled Anakin's heart. Yoda and Obi-Wan could fight the Emperor, but only Anakin was close enough to stop what came next. Sidious tore open the chamber with the Force and sent burning debris falling toward the sanctuary below. If Anakin chased victory, the children died. If he chose the children, Palpatine might escape and the Empire might survive. For one terrible second, he was divided between two futures. Then he did what Darth Vader was never meant to do. He let go of power. Anakin threw aside the duel and plunged through the collapsing floor, catching slabs of stone in midair and shielding the younglings with his own body. Fire rolled around him. Metal screamed. The effort nearly crushed him, but the children lived. Above, Palpatine broke from Yoda and Obi-Wan, sensing the opening at once. He fled through the broken tower into the night, not defeated, but denied. That escape changed everything. The Jedi had survived. The temple still stood, barely. Witnesses across Coruscant had seen clone gunships firing on the heart of the Order. Bail Organa and Padme now held proof of Palpatine's purge. The lie was cracking, not everywhere, Not yet, but enough. Obi-Wan found Anakin buried beneath shattered beams, alive and fading. Around them, younglings whispered his name with fear and wonder. Yoda looked into Skywalker's eyes and saw no victory there, only consequence. Saving the temple had not ended the war. It had only forced the truth into the open. And as dawn touched Coruscant, a single question rose over the ruins. Could Anakin Skywalker still save the galaxy he had nearly helped destroy? The temple had survived the night, but now the real war would begin, and Anakin Skywalker would have to decide what kind of man would face it.